the playoffs go. Really, definitely a contender to take a game out of the team.
Absolutely not a slouch.
That's
exactly what they are.
There are no slouches. They're a proper solid team.
That they are. They're going to ban out the Varus to kick us off in this pick and ban. G2 going to get rid of the Talia to start off their rotations. And you expect to see normal bans here. Nocturne, Aatrox, Zoe are all picks that both of these teams can utilize.
Absolutely. And I love Blanc ban there is a bit surprising, but Perkz has had some standout performances. Perkz obviously being G2's kind of superstar player. And he is a pretty scary guy. He even stole Baron, I believe, on that LeBlanc pick.
Against H2K, one of the reasons that G2 are still in that fight for first place.
You know, what I was saying had a certain amount of oomph to it until you added that part in, and I think it sounds a bit less impressive when you say I was against H2K. But
it was still a good steal. Like,
it was
the last guy remaining in the fight.
He was absolutely just yeah, it was impressive. But either way, going on to the draft here, Carly being banned is not surprising, but I would say disappointing because I think she's a fun champion to watch, especially in the hands of Perkz if G2 were to have gotten her, which they won't, but either way. Just going to be a Riot's first pick. This is an interesting one as well in the current meta where you're having more of these games going a bit later here and more of like an old meta, so to speak, that we will see more in the spring split. Riot is a very safe laner.
And we talked about utility AD carries for Kianan. The Varus and the Ashe are the two key utility AD carries. He gets his hands on the Ashe, but we're dead back on Tahm Kench's duty. He can go just save his teammate in the bottom lane. And once again, G2 have that safe bottom lane they need.
Yep, and Ashe's vulnerabilities not having much escape. In fact, having zero escape, zero mobility, having a Tahm Kench will help. One of the most popular AD carries in the LCK right now. In their playoffs, she's seeing a huge amount of play. So no surprise, it fits G2, and just as a pick itself, it's very good. And Stillback getting his signature Ezreal. Now, Stillback is a player who, towards the beginning of this split, we had a bit of question marks around him because he wasn't performing 100%, but his recent form has really been, honestly, phenomenal. He's been absolutely solid, and it's come off the back of his picks on Ez and on Lucian. So the fact that this has been locked in right here should be absolutely zero surprise, and also a good omen if you're a Giants fan.
You can say it's a good omen, but then he's 7-2 on it. 7 games, won 2 of them across the course of the split. So it's like a
I'm saying recent
sorts.
form. I'm saying recent form.
Okay, let me have a look at his. Oh no, yeah, he's won his last 2 Ezreal games.
Well, there you go.
One was against Misfits and one was against Roccat. So good omen for Giants indeed. Sejuani is the final pick for G2 in this first rotation. That will go to Jankos, and now we're going to rattle through that second rotation of bans. It's Trundle, Kindred taken away by G2, and Yasuo and Camille removed by Giants.
A lot of focus on the jungle pool here, which for me, I'm expecting Joker now to pick up the Gragas. That is probably, as far as just tier list goes, kind of like the next best jungler here, but also something that Joker has played a fair amount of, often opting into the Runic Echoes Gragas as opposed to the full tank Gragas, which I personally like to see. We've even seen legit full AP Gragas in professional play. It was played in LCK as well. I believe Spirit played it, and I was hoping to see it last game, or maybe it was the first game when Xerxes played, but sadly it did not happen. And a hover here of Zoe, which would be, maybe the Olaf. All right, nice.
Okay,
so that's not going to be the Gragas in the old Jangle. We're going to see the Olaf instead.
Is it going to be Olaf jungle? Because there's always a possibility of Olaf top. I know it's something we haven't seen a lot this split, so I do expect it more likely to be in the jungle. And I was just looking to make sure that Joker hadn't already played it, which he hasn't this split. But there's always that possibility you can flex things around.
Yes, I would. I mean, that pick pretty much confirms and answers your question there, Medic Mate. It is going to be Olaf jungle, and it does have the benefit of being a very strong early game jungler. It's really good at these these early game skirmishes, having that pressure in the early game to get your team ahead, especially when the team like Giants has scaling mid and scaling bots. If you can have a jungler that can just put out a bit more pressure on those lanes to keep them ahead a little bit, and also if you want to play around your top side as well, Nard generally speaking tends to push in as a laner so you can protect him. And I think it's quite important that as Joko in general, you are able to keep Jankos down, because for me, Jankos has been a point of weakness for G2. I think he's been a bit shaky. I would honestly say all summer split, I think, especially when G2 were on their downward trend and funneling stops and stuff. I think Jankos has been an exploitable weak link. Obviously, when you're playing Sejuani, there's little room for error in that sense, but having the Olaf pick will allow you to, if you wish, exploit the enemy jungler.
So Giants looking for the early skirmishes, looking to beat G2 the same way they did last time, with those fights, with those big clusters as we get towards the mid-game. G2, on the other hand, much more pick-orientated. Zoe and Ashe already leads you towards pick, and then the Sejuani to follow up, and the Cho'Gath as well.
Yeah, that's basically, and plus you have the Tom Kench ulti, right, to move around the map. Yeah, absolutely, like you say. Massive, massive pick-orientated comp here coming out of G2. So they won't be looking necessarily to go for those full-out skirmishes. If they can just honestly keep... I mean, if they get any kind of lead as this game goes on, it's going to be ridiculously hard to play versus G2, and Giants are going to have to be careful that they do not concede any lead in this early game, because anytime you're playing versus a pick comp and you're behind, what happens is you lose control of the map goes dark, you have to start face checking for vision, and that's when those sleepy bubble troubles, the glacial prison, enchanted crystal arrow fly across the map and hit you right in your face, which is not where you want them to land.
All about the vision control for Giants. They can play spoiler here for G2, our former finalists, fighting for one of those top 2 spots, fighting for a position in Madrid. Because remember, if you get top 2, you get semi-finals, and that means you are going to Madrid. Maybe in the 3rd, 4th match, maybe in that final as well. And G2 themselves actually have a lot to prove, because they came into this year as the former 4-time champions, though, the 4-peat. And then they kind of struggled a little bit against Fnatic in the finals. They went 0-3. Reckless got the double pentakill. And since then, G2 haven't really looked like that team that dominates Europe.
And we thought at the beginning of this split that they were on track to be that team again, because they were undefeated for a pretty long time. Going into Rift Rivals, they were undefeated. I believe they dropped 1 game at Rift Rivals.
Yep, against Echo Fox.
There you go.
And since then, they've gone 5-5.
Yeah, that's when, you know, we have started having the question marks, and it is the worst time for these guys to have. I mean, it's mediocre, we'll put it that way. I won't want to say it's like downward trend, it's literally a 500 score, but it's not really what we're expecting out of G2.
Just want them to do a little bit better, and they'll be trying to do that in this game. Early on, Giants went for a tiny invade, but nothing really going to happen there. Betsy will trade into Perks as well in the mid lane. Pretty stalwart member of the Giants roster. Betsy and Joko have actually been 2 of the players that, if I were to highlight key players on Giants, I would look to them. Joko for his early skirmishing, and Betsy he's been consistently good in this mid lane.
I think that's very fair to say. Betsy, to me, reminds me a bit more... he's a similar player to Exile from Unicorns of Love, except he doesn't die all the time.
Yeah.
No offense to Exile.
I mean,
But
Exile does die all the time.
But I think Betsy, absolutely, if you put a bit of responsibility on his backs, he really can... He will reward you for that. And Joko's early game jungling has actually been really good. For a team that is sitting at 5-11, Joko's early game performances, the way he passes and the pressure he applies onto the enemy team in that early game, it is very impressive. And the fact that he's playing this Olaf pick, who clears the jungle very quickly, is very good in these 1v1 skirmishes because he can spam the undertow. It's a good pick for Joko to do Joko things.
Both junglers were spotted here, so they're going to end up trading red buffs. And on the other side of Summoner's Rift to Joko is Jankos. And we talked about how he wants to get through this early game. He needs to be effective on the map. And when he is playing well for his team, he gets his team ahead. You can see when they win, he has higher jungle proximity, he has more kills and assists at 15 minutes, he's got a higher gold difference at 15 minutes as well. There's almost a 1,300 gold difference between when G2 win and when G2 lose. So you do have to look at Jankos for a little bit more consistency on this G2 line.
Consistency is a really good word to use for Jankos. I think the thing is with him, we have such high expectations of this guy because arguably he's been the best jungler in Europe for maybe 2 years now. And coming onto G2, it was almost like they were forming this kind of super team. And to be honest, that's a bit of a cursed word in EU.
Yeah.
Super teams and EU don't tend to mix. You don't have to... It started off with, was it Elements, I believe it was, or Alliance? Yeah, that didn't go down too well. And Jankos and Perks, arguably, you're bringing the best mid laner, pairing him here with the best jungler. And to be honest, it's just not looked as good as it really should have looked. And with the meta going a bit more how it has been in the past, with those AD carries in the bot lane, games going on a bit later, I think now we could see a return to form from Jankos.
That's definitely what G2 fans are hoping to see. Jankos ganking the top lane here, was on a Ghost Poro, so was spotted out. Trade in the mid lane as well. The Drowsy down on Betsy, but Perkz now needs to get away from this. Fight still happening on the top side. The stun combo is enough, and G2 get first blood.
Huge CC coming out of G2 there, which even though Ruin blows his flash, is not enough to save him. And this is a good omen if you are a G2 fan, because you don't necessarily have the stronger early game. This gank, that the first blood really should not have gone over to G2 when we talk about the team compositions. Joko does get a gank in the mid lane. That flash is down. So even though the kill isn't in the pocket of Giants right now, there's always that potential for a return play. Let's take a look at what happened in that top lane. Very simply, Jankos just walks up into this lane. Oh, that's crucial right there. Ruin actually blew his little Goomba Stomp hop on the Rupture. That sucks, because that is your escape. And when you get that interrupted, that's really well played by Wonder there. But also a bit of disrespect coming through from Ruin.
Yeah, Ruin is very well known for his Gnar play. Played it a lot last split as well. So surprised to see him make that mistake, but credit to Wonder. In Spring Split, we talked about him as a possible MVP, definitely the best top laner in Europe. So this super team that G2 have developed isn't all about Jankos and Perkz, also has an incredibly strong top laner.
What I love about Wonder as well is that he came from Splice before, and I don't really think when he was on Splice that anyone considered him as one of the best tops. I think he's a player who has developed extremely well playing under G2 and is now arguably the best top in Europe. Which he was not before.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think being on G2 has opened him up a little bit more. Maybe we saw G2 put a bit more focus up towards that top side, where Splice didn't used to do that as much. So just a little bit more time spent around Wonder has definitely unleashed his full potential. We're about 6 minutes into the game. It's still a very even game, even though that first blood's gone down. So I want to see where Giants are actually getting some of their gold from. If you look down towards the bottom lane, a bit it's coming from there. Trade from Ruin in the top lane, but Wonder should be able to walk away from this one. A bit of a CS lead down towards that top lane. Joko's on the hunt. Predator. Ruin's just chasing in. Good Rupture, but Joko will start tanking up now, and Wonder's dead. No way for him to get away. Joko!
Oh, oh no.
What did he die to there? Looked like he was going to survive. Maybe a final minion also attack came in.
That's... Man, you just get caught in indecisiveness there, excuse me. It's not like I'm English or anything. And he didn't want to blow his flash. He didn't want to. You saw him holding on to it. It was like, no, don't make me blow the summoner. I can do it. And then he's dead. Bless him. It was extremely close, though. But a good punish from Giants to notice that Wonder used that flash in the setup to the gank previously, where he got the first blood. Let's see it again. So Ruin hits the level 6 before Wonder, and that's crucial because it means he can go all in on this fight, on this trade. That drops Wonder down to really low health, enabling Joko to then go for this dive. But at that point, that's when you should flash. Before that third tower hit potentially is coming through onto you.
Yep.
But again, I think he's so close to getting outside tower range, he's like, no, I don't need to flash, and then doesn't... It'll just... it happens so fast, but he does go down in the end.
That's the moment your top laner in solo queue just question mark pings.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. And yeah, 2-1 on Wonder now. He's in a pretty strong spot. That CS discrepancy I talked about in bot lane is relatively even now, although it is pushing towards Steelback, so he'll be able to get a little bit further ahead on the Ezreal Perkz. Very much struggling in the mid lane, though. Remember, hasn't got the flash, has portal jump, but is he going to be able to get away from a Ragnarocking Olaf? No, he's not. That's one down, and Jankos can do nothing about it. The arrow comes in, the utility AD Kjarnan catches Joko, and now here comes the chase. Kjarnan and Tom Kench coming up with it there as well, but Joko almost falls. He turns it back around. Jankos, flash, prison, cleanse from Betsy, but Kjarnan and Widid are here. Finally, the realm warp to get him away. Betsy will live to fight another day.
Oh, my lordy, that was a ridiculous fight in the mid lane. I think, I don't want to say, I'm kind of speechless. Jankos leveled up his ultimate ridiculously fast there to try and save himself, and it works. But a great roam from G2, and that snipe from downtown from Kjarnan as well. That's why you pick that Ashe pick. You fire the arrow into the mid lane, and cheeky little return kill there as well. And it all starts, though, with actually a really good play by Giants. Betsy's playing so far under Perkz' tower. Look at how he chunks him here, legit right under the tower. And this sets it up so easily for Joko. A bit of hesitation here, honestly, makes this play go a little bit less clean than it should do, because it gives time for Jankos to get in, it gives time for G2's bot lane to also roam up and do their thing. But just a really good snipe. There's not really much more to say about that one. And then it's just so close. It's so close here. It really was a game of inches right there. And Betsy also surviving on 0 health. It was, I mean, that was exciting.
See, this is why you take Hail of Blades Tarm Can.
Right.
Because you get the extra auto attack speed, so you can insta devour.
That's fair. Or you can just take a knight.
That's true as well.
And not screw your team over and get reported for troll.
Hail of Blades is really good.
Yeah, it actually is.
Especially since on 816, the Devour is better on the opposition than it is on
enemies,
teammates, so you might as well get it up as often as possible. But it is until Spellbook forward did this game, so not going to see that exciting summoner at all. Still, pretty even game coming into the 10-minute mark here at Foxdrop.
Yes, we
And
are.
what do you want to talk about? Because I've talked a lot about what I want to talk about.
Does it have to be League of Legends related?
No, we can talk about whatever we want.
What else would I want to talk
They
about?
can't mute us, come on.
Well, I think it actually is in their power.
That's true, actually.
But you know what? I will talk about League of Legends, as I've been humbly invited here to do just that. I've got to earn my paycheck at the end of the day, or they won't feed me. Although I've already eaten, so that's not really a problem.
You're fine.
But no, for me, what I am looking at this game, Mr. Medic, Dr. Medic, if I will,
Okay.
is I want to see what... I'm always looking at perks, specifically, just as a player. Whenever he's on G2, well, which is all the time, but whenever he is playing, he's always a player that makes games exciting, because you look at him and he has the skill set and the capabilities to absolutely pop off on games, but then when you put him on a playmaker like the Zoe, it's really exciting to watch. But we're going to fight in the bot lane here.
Yeah, Nuke's not in the best of positions. Glacial Fisher comes out as well. Jankos there. The prison connects from long range, and that's one. Joker now comes in, trying to turn onto Hyanon, and we did, but the Abyssal Voyage will get them to safety. Is Jankos going to be able to get out of this difficult spot? I don't think so. Kill will be given across to Betsy, who gets it in the end.
Double buffs as well for Betsy, and this should be the Dragon if Giants want to go for this one.
They could go for Tower as well.
Yeah, he looks like he might be trying to scout out, see if there's anything going there. I mean, if you go for the Dragon here, it's kind of an investment into the future. If you go for the Tower, that's obviously something right now, which, you know, that's... Yeah, you may as well get the same thing that you can get right now, and getting that first blood tower, they may try and go for both. Be a bit greedy, honestly, but they may try and go for it. And first blood tower in the pockets of Giants, we have seen when they win, it's off of good early games. A lot of times when these teams who aren't quite in the playoffs, when they find success, Giants being one of these teams, it's when they have these solid early games and they're able to snowball off of that. But when they don't find success, it's because and their weakness as a team lies in their strategy. Well, what happens when they actually have a really bad early game? And that gets exploited, and then they fall down in the standings. But Giants, they're up ahead, 1.5k gold, not too shabby, and with a scaling million-like rise, and that is as well looking for that 2-item spike. It's pretty good news.
They're in a very good spot for those mid-game team fights if they want them. Let's have another look at how this fight started off, because I thought Nukesalot was just going to go down and G2 would get out.
Yeah, and this is another downside not having Halo Blade's Tom. You can't devour him quickly enough. But Jankos, he's the first person to get into this play out of the two junglers. But this is the strength that you're seeing of Olaf as well, because Olaf just runs at people. Basically what he's doing now,
just flashes the
legitimately runs at people.
It doesn't matter if you're good at utility AD carries if you're dead.
Well, if you don't have a tower, then I guess that he genuinely, he couldn't have timed that better. I'm talking about how he genuinely just runs people down, and he flashed over the wall to do it. That is the most extreme example of what I was saying.
I think that's the most Brolaf play I've ever seen in my life. I'm just going, mate. Yeah. I'm just going. Come on.
I respect that.
Come on.
I absolutely respect that. And too many times when we see Olaf picks kind of fail, it's because they don't have this early game pressure. Right now, Joko is sitting on a juicy 100% kill participation. Let's see the incredible mechanics that went through here.
Flash! He threw the Q towards him.
The jet genuinely just flashes the wall. It's a phenomenal play right there. What an esports gamer.
It's a next level esports game with a hyphen.
Yes, and a capital S.
Gamer.
Fantastic.
Indeed. Okay, let's take a quick stock of the situation, because it is a lead for Giants in the early game. We said if they fell behind, the game was pretty much doomed. I thought after the first blood happened, it could have been, but now Giants are actually still in the lead. They have a good position. They got the tower down towards the bottom side. They got themselves a Mountain Drake. They are going to lose Rift Herald, which does give a tower or a little bit of chunk damage onto a tower back to G2. But if I'm a Giants fan, I'm very happy with how this early game's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't be sour about it. And even though a lot of the pressure is on the early game just for Giants to find success, I would say that's not necessarily because of their comp, but just because of their playstyle as a team. But Jankos here, he's going to get caught out. He's also going to be sent to the Shadow Realm. Joko,
Is that where you go?
Yeah, that's where you go.
You've activated my Ragnarok card.
Yeah, precisely. Joko Ragnaroks and Jankos rolls into his grave. Thank you.
That was very good.
It wasn't, but that's
I have pretty low standards, let's be honest.
That's why you cast with me, mate. No one else would take me.
Oh no! Oh.
I've already joked that. Well, I think I'm already joking.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe we should page Quickshot. Quickshot, if you're listening, please say that's not true.
Let's bring it back to the game at hand, though, because we have talked a lot about how Giants have been able to keep this early game lead up. They're starting to get towards these first items. Manamoon building up towards that second 2-item spike for Giants. If they're going to play around that, what's their intention? What's their next set of game plans?
So with the 2-item spike on Ez, Steelback plays Ez a bit more unique in the style that he rushes Sheen. He doesn't rush Tier first. So when he actually unlocks the Manamoon, it's a bit later than traditionally you would see with an Ezreal. But you can see that the lane swaps are coming through here. And we'll probably see much more like a standard setup right now, where you're just going for the traditional play, right? Where the bot lane tower goes down, you lane swap, you try and get this top side here. And when that Triforce comes through from Steelback, and when that Manamoon comes through, and obviously the same goes for Betsy too. Ryze is a decent 2-item champion as well. You can definitely see Betsy just wave clear mid in like 0 seconds, because that's what Ryze does. And then he can realm warp up to the top lane. If you catch G2 sleeping, there's like a really good chance you can just get some picks that way, work that into tower, set up vision on the top side, and then go into that mid lane. It can be a bit formulaic, but also explosive, depending on if G2 respect the potential for Betsy to roam.
They're trying to get rid of this mid lane tower to reduce the ability for Betsy to roam around, and Joker's going to try and answer it. You can see Steelback on his way down as well, but Rift is going to take a big chunk out of this tower. Doesn't do full damage because Joko smited it, so will not get the tower. That's really intelligent play from the Giants jungler. It's
intelligent and also very important, because if that mid lane tower goes down, it really does handcuff how Betsy can then play moving forward. Because Betsy absolutely, like I mentioned, just wants to wave clear mid and just shove, 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 shove. It stops Zoe being able to roam. It opens him up to be able to roam. But if that tower goes down, you can't really do that anymore, because then you're actually putting yourself in quite a vulnerable position, because you don't have the tower there to protect yourself. So that tower survives. It lives, unlike something happening on the technical side, which has gone boom. Well, hopefully it's not gone boom, because we'd be here for a while if it did.
Yeah, a mini boom.
A mini boom.
I'm sure we'll be able to fix it pretty quickly. But we focused a lot on Giants, and I do want to bring attention back to the fact that G2, like, for the last few weeks, I've been slowly seeding this discussion. I've been seeding this narrative, is the technical word we use, which is G2 actually still one of the best teams in Europe? Are they still top 4? Are they still top 2? And I've asked a few people, and they're like, oh, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Schalke are good, Fnatic are the best at the moment, but you've got Misfits and Splice and Schalke and everyone else here. Yep. What's your opinion, Foxtrot?
Well, I've predicted G2 to finish second, and judging by the nature of my predictions, that probably means they are actually pretty crap.
Yeah.
As
I've seen your predictions.
Yes. So the reason why I think they would be in that top 2 is because I think the meta is going to go to a spot where it favors them again. I think the funnel meta, they thrived in that, and then when funnel died, G2 really did seem to struggle. But I actually think a lot of that came down to how they were deciding to play the bot lane and how Jankos was deciding to play as well. And I think the meta now is definitely reverting, if you can say, a bit more back to how we saw in that spring split, a bit more how we're used to seeing League of Legends being played in general, when you're having more tanky top laners being played, tanky junglers as well. There's AD carries in the bot lane, scaling the games out a little bit more. And I think that actually plays into G2's strengths a lot more. So I think that with the meta shift being how it is, and the other teams who they're battling in that top 2 spot for, because I think they're not better than Fnatic, but I think anyone's better than Fnatic. You got Misfits, you got Schalke, like you mentioned as well. I think Misfits have problems, and I don't think they're going to fix them in time for playoffs. Yeah. Maybe during playoffs, but I don't think they're a top 2 team right now. And Schalke, there's just a little sign that I don't think rolls with me.
See, I agree with that. It hasn't been amazing. Wonder's going to try and start the fight here in the mid lane as we get back onto the game. Cleanse and flash from Betsy. Glacial Prism misses. Jankos there. Widid jumps across the wall, but he hasn't got the Halo Blade, so he can't get enough damage down. Eventually, Betsy will fall. Widid's the one to get it. And G2 find a pick in the mid lane.
Not only will Betsy fall, but there should be that mid tower as well, which was chunked down previously by the Rift Herald. And if you can open that mid lane down, like I mentioned, it really does stall out Giants' ability to roam and hinder them heavily. Perks and Jankos are working into that mid lane here. And I want to see now, oh blimey, I don't think they can dive this Joko. But Joko is trying to defend with his life. He might have gone too far forward.
Yeah, Joko's not in the best of spots at all. Shut down 4 and 3 now, giving those kills across towards Perks as well. The tower's going to fall, and G2 will equalize the gold score coming up towards that 17-minute mark.
When I said I didn't think they could dive Joko, I meant asterisk Joko doesn't walk up to them and suicide.
Yeah,
That's what I was getting at there. But you know what? That's a classic solo queue move though. When you've lost something, you try so hard to defend it, you just lose even more. Because you can't defend it. But yeah, here we go. This is how it all starts off. And G2, we talked about the pick comp that they have. Really good setup here. Wonder with that righteous glory. There's just no way. I mean, it's not even like G2 played this particularly cleanly. Honestly, they kind of whiffed a lot of key stuff. They missed a few skill shots. But they still just get the kill because there's too much to throw, everything and the kitchen sink. And here comes Wonder for a turn gank.
Yeah, once again, fighting it towards this mid lane, just trying to keep Perks' lane in the best spot possible. Get that consistent carry ahead for your team. I mean, Wonder got a big advantage with those couple of kills early on, has that Righteous Glory, has the Ninja Tabi on him as well. There's a lot of physical damage coming out from Giants, so Ninja Tabi, a very good pick for him.
And this is also, talking about good picks, why Ashe is a decent pick into the meta right now, because you can kind of leave her alone a little bit. She's not good at protecting herself. You have to make sure she doesn't die when she's by herself. But just stylistically, she's not a champion that you need to funnel all your resources into. She will be useful, even if she's not the center of your attention. So that means you can then put resources into champions like the Zoe, into players like Perks, who, like you mentioned, are those consistent carries and are the stars of your team.
That's exactly what G2 are trying to do. Giants, on the other hand, have a lot of their damage, a lot of their early gold funneled into Joko, sitting on 4 kills on the Olaf, has the Black Cleaver completed as well. But you can see it's only about 100 gold ahead of Jankos at the moment. Interesting to see Steelback 600 gold in advantage over Hjarnan, mostly because of that Kleptomancy you would expect, but 20 extra CS as well for him. You highlighted him before the game even started, and I thought, Steelback sometimes plays really well, but you talked specifically about his Ezreal, and he's showing up once again.
At recent form, he has turned a page on his Ezreal book. The first page was pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And very lots of L's and lots of red colors. But now it's looking pretty decent, and I think what's great about Steelback on Ez, as we probably won't get to talk about this right now.
Tankent's going to ult in here. It's just for the dragon. The Ash arrow comes out as well.
That is actually spicy, if you saw that. And this is what I was thinking about when I saw a TP on the Ash as well. But you can do it with Tahm Kench. You can fire your arrow from downtown, TP in or Abyssal Voyage in with the Tahm Kench, and then you arrive, and right behind you comes your Ash ult.
It's the old school Ash mid, where you just arrow and then teleport to the tower straight away.
I really hope we see that work in this game. We almost saw it right there.
We need a name for it if we're going to...
Oh man, that's a lot of power and responsibility to give to us.
I think
we should do that.
I think we do it.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I'm not very good with names.
Remember that, like, Quickshot and Deficio, the last time they thought of a name was the Molotov Baguette. And it was for something that Soaz did. I can't remember what the ability
or something.
Soaz was chucking something in. It's like, oh, it's a Molotov Baguette. So we have the power to name things, and Giants have the power to start up this Baron straight away. Tahm Kench on his way as well. They will stop because the ward was placed in the back of the pit. No control ward for them. Ruin trading into Runda here has finished that Wit's End and has the Black Cleaver, so it's doing a lot of damage to this Cho'Gath, just trading into him. Gonna go towards the mini pretty soon, and then he'll get that extra range advantage. Wonder's gonna fall before Perks can even get there. Dodges to the side from Ruin as well as he misses the Paddlestar. Perks on the chase. The sleep connects, and this should be a kill for Perks. Paddlestar comes out. Ruin still alive. Good night, sweet prince, you say, but Ruin is going to live for another day for now, at least. Jankos on his way. Ruin looking for the E, looking for the jump across prison from downtown, and Ruin is not in the best of spots.
But why are you recalling Giants? They just sent 3 people into that bot lane. You have to get at least something out of it. As it stands, all they get are recalls, which is not an optimal result out of drawing 3 people into that bot lane. I really think they could have got that mid tower in that scenario, but at the same time, maybe a bit of miscommunication here from Giants as well. And one of the reasons why they're not quite able to reach into that playoffs is little things like this. Yeah. There's often not a lot of huge differences between teams, and it's just lots of small things that make a big difference, right? And Ruin able to get that solo kill, able to draw 2 other members of G2 down to his lane in the bot lane. but Giants not able to do anything from it. And Betsy, oh my lordy, Rise is just... I don't know how to describe Rise. What's the word you would use to describe Rise, Medic?
Frustrating?
Frustrating?
Deceptive.
Deceptive.
Like, sometimes I watch a Rise and I'm like, oh, he's dead. And then he just like, no, I've got shields, I've got room prison. Wait.
That's very fair. That was a good description.
I think Spaghetti is a good one as well, because his also attacks look like just little lightning bolts of spaghetti.
I've never thought about that. That's fair.
It's my spaghetti noise, by the way.
Yes, is that what
noises?
spaghetti sounds like?
Every type of pasta has a noise.
What does linguine sound like? Do you even know what linguine is?
Yeah, of course I do. I've watched Ratatouille, okay?
I was in doubt until you said that. I can believe that. You know what? The word I would use to describe Rise is vile. He's a vile champion.
Okay.
But right now, the lead that Giants has accrued is not in that territory. A 900 gold lead is not a vile, disgusting, deceptive, or frustrating lead for G2. And what a lot of the gold from Giants has boiled down to is the pocket Olaf, who has itemized into what we see a lot of nowadays. I was talking about this on the, I don't know if this is even in rehearsals or what, but I remember saying
backstage,
this. Was it backstage?
Yes.
Okay. I was mentioning this, the Cinderhulk Stone Plate combo.
Need to be a bit careful here. Joko 8,
Yes, they
Sleepy
do.
Trouble Bubble. The root comes out onto Jankos as well, and Betsy will escape. Now still pushing in that bottom lane, has the teleport if he wants to join this fight.
But that's absolutely, that's perfect. G2 want to force against the grouped up squad of Giants. And the fact that one of the biggest engaged tools from G2, which is that Sejuani Ultimate, is sort of wasted there.
Yeah.
It's a really huge deal and means that Giants and Ruin specifically can just stay in this bot lane, go for that split push even more, and that's plays right into Giants' pocket. But the point I was going to make before is this Cinderhulk Stone Plate combo that we see all the time nowadays. Trundles build it, Skarners build it, Gragas builds it, Sejuani builds it, or everyone builds it on the jungle now. As a jungle main, it makes me weep because it ain't fun, it's boring.
Do you not like winning games?
Well, yeah. If I was a pro player, I guess I would be okay with it. But as it stands as a lowly D3 pleb, I am not okay with it.
The thing is, right, I support mained through the Ardent Sensor meta, so I totally understand where you're coming from.
Well, were you going to say
I
climb?
did not enjoy that meta at all. I play
That's
Thresh and I play
Okay.
Alistair and, you know, these guys that like to attack people, not these guys that like to shield people and stack.
I don't think there is a less respected demographic in League than Ardent abusers back then.
That's true. Betsy's going to be able to escape Jankos somewhere. Gets himself to safety.
That is cheeky.
And Giants still pushing G2 to their very limit here. G2 have made a couple of plays, but it hasn't worked out for them.
But I want to give huge credits actually to Giants and Betsy specifically because G2 have really focused him. They put a lot of stuff towards him and he's only been caught out once. And that was pretty close in itself. Like, Betsy is actually doing a really good job of absorbing all this pressure from G2, but not actually conceding a lot of it. I did compare him to Exile in his playstyle capabilities. This is the point where Exile would be about 0 and 6 in the game. But Betsy, only that one death. And I think that he's really able... There's such a facet to your team if you can have someone that takes a lot of pressure but doesn't fold.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, especially against a combination like Perks and Jankos, even Wonder coming in to join those fights. The only time he died was when Wonder was there. Inhibitor tower falling in the top side, and G2 are odds and ends here. They're not reacting. Time Kencher's backed. Maybe they're going to come across now, but immediately Giants say, okay, we're going to do something on the other side of the map.
Exactly, and this time when Ruin was setting up in that bot lane and got that Inhibitor tower, Giants were ready to do something, like you mentioned, on the other side of the map, which led to them getting that mid tower as well, and then they all ran over to the Baron too, so that G2 are really spread thin across this map here. Looking like a piece of stretched out linguine, if I may. Yes, they are thrumping their way through the Summoner's Rift. And Giants will take this any day of the week, but on the plus side for G2, these guys only really need to get a solid Sejuani ultimate to catch someone. And their team comp, if they do that, they can then group up. And that has been one of G2's strengths. Their map rotations right now are looking pretty weak. But when they are making proactive rotations, not just the reactive ones, they actually are very good at doing that.
They definitely are. Okay. Let's take a quick re-evaluation of exactly where we are. We've had our spaghetti and linguine jokes. We've had our discussion as to what the long-range arrow should be called. I'm still expecting you to think of a name, but What about the state of the game? 2,000 gold lead for Giants, a Mountain Drake apiece for both these teams. Second item complete on both AD carries and on both mid laners. So it's actually a very even game state coming into the mid to late game now. And what we want to see is Giants pulling G2 across the map a little bit more, and G2 are trying to react by getting control of this river.
I think that even if G2 get a pick here, they have to be really, well, picky is not the word I should use there, choosy, about who they try and get a pick onto. Because the Braum, the Olaf, I won't count Ruin because he's not going to be grouping, but you have to land it on Betsy, and if you do, you have to have significant follow-up because he has the cleanse. Stillback as an Ezreal is notoriously slippy, and he has the sash. What? Oh my god. Can we just do what Zoe did there and delete her from the game? Is that a petition? Can I do that?
Yeah, change.org, go on.
Chuck
it on, 100,000 signatures.
We're just trying to play League of Legends. We're trying to play a macro game, we're trying to use our brains, and then that abomination springs itself up.
You just have to dodge the Q.
Should have pink warded the sleepy bubble.
That was the problem. That was the problem. G2 going to set up around the Baron, and now that they see their opportunity, they find the pick they need. Nuke's lot does get nuked to about half HP as well. Nas still pushing in that side lane, but G2 have started the Baron. They have the Cho'Gath, easy secure for them. Joker, once again, it's your time to step up. You have to do it now. If you're ever going to do it, the Realm Walk comes in to get vision. Joker down to half. Perk's still standing up towards the side. The Baron down to 2,000. Joker's going in, looking for the steal. Can't get the smite because Cho'Gath secures it. Nah going for the inhibitor, but already Nukesalot is down, and Giants need to run for the hills here. They need to get away. G2 going to use the enhanced recalls. Let's look at that inhibitor, though, in the top side. Let's look at the Gnar. The sleep does connect. Betsy's still alive. Turns it back onto Perks, but the cleanse away. The paddle is going to be enough with the final auto in. Inhibitor falls down towards the bottom side as well, so Giants get something out of it. But Ruin is being chased down by Wonder and Yanin. Perpetually slowed. Flashes away. The Boomerang gets hit with a volley right at the end of that. Still going to be able to get away. Boomerang, Rupture, Ruin! Goomba stomps his way to safety, but the rest of G2 are pushing in that middle lane.
And this should be another inhibitor as well for G2. The game just explodes out of that one pick. Able to pick up the Baron, and obviously the inhibitor more objectives here as well. Ruin is doing his best to salvage things in this game. But Giants, oh man, they're looking rough right now.
They definitely are. Still back with his first death in the last 3 games on Ezreal.
Whoa.
It's a shame for him.
I don't think that should even count, really. Can we just get stats to it? Just
erase it. The amount of things stats would erase if they could. Trust me, it would have happened a lot of times.
Would funnel never have happened?
Funnel would have never happened. We would never have had a Rammus mid lane last split.
Right,
or Heimerdinger jungle, I think we had at one point as well. But in this game, the only things getting erased are the Giants members and that inhibitor in the mid lane. Giants did manage to get an inhibitor of their own, so it was a more even trade than it could have been. But it feels like the turning of the tide. It feels like G2 finally stepping up in this matchup.
And it all came down from that one pick. It's sort of ironic that G2 have got drafted a quite heavy pick comp, and all it took was just Zoe doing Zoe things for it to actually work. But now G2 is most likely going to position to the bot lane as I say that.
Yeah, Betsy needs to try and escape here, but there's not really anywhere he can go. He's down, Jankos gets him, no vision for Betsy, and G2 find another pick and will play towards this bottom side.
But I mentioned before that Betsy had done a really good job this game of absorbing the pressure and escaping G2's attempts to kill him. To be honest,
wasn't a good example.
That was not a good example, but he should have known better there, because just purely, you know that most likely G2 is going to go towards that bot side. There's no reason for them to be top side because there's no real objective for them to push into. And by pushing bot, you also achieve not only a push, you know what? Let's just watch Joker get in.
Let's watch Joker get in. Yeah, Gianna's going to take him out in the end. They went for the dive, but they didn't expect the teleport coming in from Kiana, and now G2 will push him with all 3 members down towards this bottom side. Betsy up in 11. Cleanse used by Stillback, but this will be the second inhibitor, and G2 still fighting for first. They need this win if they're going to be able to get first in the regular season. And with this inhibitor, they would have put themselves in a very good spot. Can't get it though, and flash in from Nukesalot. Fisher misses onto it. Counter teleport hit by Wonder to join his teammates. Ash pushing in the top lane, 4v4. Ruin chasing in, looking for the Mega, has the Gnar, of course, gonna double bounce in, but it's only onto Wonder. They catch one, steal back, raining hell in from the side, the double wallop stuns Perks, Wonder will fall. Ash is up towards that top lane though, and is going to be able to get this tower.
Split push Ash, baby, that's what it's all about. And G2 could afford to send Ashe into that top lane to defend Wonder because Betsy was dead. So G2 did not need that huge amount of manpower to push in the bot side when Giants send 2 top and 1 is in that Shadow Realm. But like I was mentioning before, this opens up just one more lane now for G2 to really siege down, which is that top lane. And before, and why I was critical of Betsy's death, is because if you don't have the Baron up on the top side, you know that G2 is most likely going to posture into the bot side instead, culminating to this play. An instant cleanse from Wadid stops him from being slowed down here. But Giants are actually pretty strong in this scenario if you can just get Ruin auto-attacking people. Because he has that build where he's got the cleaver into the wit's end. Even the tanky members of G2 actually aren't that tanky versus a mini Gnar who's itemized the way that Ruin has built. So he has a lot of damage, and yeah, you can see what happens there. And I'm probably just going to give up on my point about why G2 should have gone bot, because that every time I mention it, something happens.
Well, but they did go bot in the end.
They did.
And they didn't get the inhibitor, but they got close.
No.
They got 8,000 gold off that Baron, so
But maybe you should say this point, because maybe it'll actually go through if someone else says it.
I just think G2 should go bot at the moment. There's a bot lane inhibitor down for them. If they push into that inhibitor push, it can work out really well.
Exactly.
So if they get this inhibitor down in the bottom lane,
You're
such a good position.
protecting and attacking.
Indeed.
Not only do you protect,
But you attack. Most importantly, he...
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I was hoping that you'd come up with something, and it would sound like we had pre-planned.
We're 30 minutes into the game, and I still don't know what to call Ashe. I don't know.
Nor do I.
You should not have high
I
expectations.
think it's like the Samurai Sniper, because it's G2. But it doesn't get the
Weak.
teleport in there either, yeah.
It needs to be more Ashe, you know. Ashe, not, yeah, I don't know.
Big flank coming in here from G2 as they push forward this inhibitor. Sleep did land onto Betsy. G2 continue to force in. Great Glacial Fisher, but the prison lands onto Nuxalot. Jump in from Ruin. The Gnar, 3 members, but Xiaonan is still alive, and he can do work on these AD carries. 1 down. The Sleep lands as well, but Joko will be unstoppable for the moment. G2 could try and push in here, or they could reset. They do have super minions pushing in mid and that bottom lane now.
And G2 took a while to get the advantage in this game, but once they got it, absolutely, they just run away with this game, and Stillback is having some kind of really horrific flashbacks.
It's
not
fun playing against Perks when he is hitting these bubbles. Once again, another one connects. Everyone just hitting its mark. Another guy dies, and Giants are forced back. G2, after a slow start, are looking to keep fighting for that top spot. They're not done yet. They keep forcing back onto Steelback. He's done for. Xiaonan just 2v1ing. They're on the fountain. He's still killing them. Who cares what patch it is? G2 still fighting for the top spot here in the EU LCS.
What a performance out of G2's mid and bot lane that game. You mentioned Xiaonan stepping up, and if G2 want to revert their fortunes that they've had in that summer split recently, they're moving into a meta where the AD carry is important, and Xiaonan's stepping up, perfect time to do so. And Perks, mate, I mean, you can ban how many champions you want away from him, but you cannot ban Perks himself.
Just does as he pleases. Like, after a slowish start, I was a little bit worried, but then you remember, oh, they've got Zoe and an Ashe, so if they ever land anything, that person's pretty dead.
I was a bit worried that they wouldn't have enough damage in their team comp to really get through the Giants squad there.
I always worry about amount of damage when you've got a Zoe.
But
she
that's
just
the
doesn't do
thing.
enough damage for me.
I mean, in more of the extended, consistent fights, medic. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, as you were saying, Zoe just, I don't even know what happened there. The whole game really just pivoted off of that one thing, and that was credit to Perks on the Zoe to find that window, because it was a slim window. I mean, it's like when you're hot and you're still gaming and it's late at night, so it's dark. So you open the window, but you don't want the moths going through, so you just creepy little sneaky deaky, just a tiny little window. Somehow the moth still found its way through, as it always does. And there it is. G2 honestly had a decent lead in this game for, well, as you can see, the majority of the game. And then G2 just ran away with it.
Yeah, great stuff from Xiaonan as well. 30,000 damage from him on that Ashe. Once again, stepping up to the plate. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from this G2 roster. And when you talked about how the meta shift would favor them, how they were probably still one of the top 2 teams in Europe, this is the sort of thing that we were looking at. They can play more methodically, they can play slower, they can play through their bot lane if they need to, they can play through top lane if they need to, they can play through Perks if they need to. They have all these different options, and it means that they are still challenging for that first spot. We're going to have another look at exactly how G2 actually ended this game, and it was, after that 30-minute fight, it was really just a matter of time.
And at this point, G2 is just way too tanky, really. I mean, when you have like Jankos, you have Wanda, you have Wadite, there's too much damage to get through onto the G2 squad, and Giants had a lot of their early success on Joko, don't forget. So a lot of the gold was onto him, and when you can't get through that tanky front line, when you have Hjarnan and Perks, I mentioned maybe they wouldn't have enough damage with just those two, not really hyper carries in team fights, but I mean...
Yeah, Hjarnan's killing people on the Nexus.
Hjarnan, yeah, Hjarnan is fountain diving, Perks is one-shotting people. I don't think they needed to worry about damage.
No, I don't think they did at all. As the game is over, you guys have one thing to do, and go and vote for your player of the game at LOL Esports on Twitter. It's Perks? That's just a combination of all three. Perkos. It's like a combination of all three. It's Perks, Jankos, and Hjarnan, who are your choices.
I think it's close, but I mean, Perks kind of won the game with that one pick.
Yeah, he did, but I really want to give it to Hjarnan.
I think Hjarnan is in a good shout.
Good job. Well,
he's in a good shout for it.
Yeah, in spring, we got to see G2 in Copenhagen, and this time we're going to Madrid for the EU LCS finals the 8th and 9th of September. So get your tickets for the event over at eu.lolesports.com/Madrid. With only one R, not as many as I said. You can also check out viewing parties across Europe at www.leagueoflegendsincinemas.com. That's all one word in the middle. So, League of Legends in cinemas. All together.
But the dot isn't a word, that's
no,
just a dot.
The dot is actually just a dot, or a full stop, or a point, however you want to say, or a period if you're American. Coming up next, Fnatic with Vectless on their lineup look to take a big step in that first place race with a win against Roccat. But before that, let's hear from Law and G2's jungler.
Thank you very much, Medic. G2 here opening the week with a win against Giant. Now, Jankos, the last time you played Giants, you lost. So what was different this time?
I think last time we played against Giants, we made a lot of mistakes in the early game, and we gave them comfortable champions. I think this game, our draft was better, even though we were red side. And I think we played really slow, but we kind of knew that, you know, at some point we should outscale them. But luckily, Luka didn't give us a chance, and he just kind of won the game with the pick mid lane.
Why do you think you guys play so slow per se at the moment? Are you lacking confidence, something?
No, I mean, I think their champions were getting really hard outscaled at some point, and you know, they couldn't really win fights against us. And we tend to play over-aggressive, or we make decisions where we can fight when we don't need to fight sometimes, even though we will be stronger at some point. So I think even though Luka got this pick, I think if he wouldn't have, I think we would be perfectly fine in game, and we would start forcing Nash with Cho'Gath. We have pretty good smite, and even though Nara was like a little bit annoying with the bot pressure, and we misplayed a couple of times, that costed us turrets. I think the game was not that difficult. Like, I mean, it was hard, but it's like, it's fine, winnable, winnable.
You're always hard on yourself whenever we talk. Why is that so?
I mean, I think it's because maybe I didn't have like the best weeks in my career, last 3 weeks. I mean, I think last week was fine, but I think I didn't play as good as I should have been playing after Rift Rivals. And, you know, before the Rift Rivals, we played only Funnel. So who knows how I would perform. I mean, I honestly think I would perform well, but I don't know because I played Braum. So I was playing fine Braum. And now I think, you know, I'm getting like back in shape, and I think I'm excited to play well again. And there are 3 games where, not the best games, but, you know, not the worst games. I just played the game, and, you know, we have 1 more or maybe a couple of more matches tomorrow, since we have some possible tiebreakers. So I'm very excited to face Vitality and play against Kikis, my Polish bro.
About this game, it will be the last of the regular season outside tiebreakers, potential tiebreakers. What do you think of your matchup against Vitality? Will you be able to take it?
I mean, I think Vitality is for sure one of the best early game teams right now. But I think if they don't have the early game, even with Kikis, they don't play that good.
They're not here. You can go.
Okay. So even with Kikis, they are not playing, you know, that good when it comes to macro and how they can play the game after mid-late game. I also think Schalke is really strong, and Vitality did struggle against Schalke. But I think we can beat Vitality for sure, even though it's going to be a tough game.
Well, I wish you good luck on this one, and that's a story for another day. But for the moment, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, it's going to be Roccat versus Fnatic. Don't go anywhere.